Greetings and salutations, my dearest friends. My name is Samantha, and today we're doing my January wrap-up. Filming videos every single day leading up to Valentine's Day, because Valentine's Day is one of my favorite holidays. This is day 2. I'm doing really good. It's only day 2, so we will see how this goes. January was a weird month. I just had a lot going on, to be completely honest, so I didn't read as much as I had planned or had wanted to. In total, I read 10 books, which I mean is pretty good, and my overall rating for all of the books were really high. The month was definitely about quality over quantity. I didn't read as many books as I typically do. I read a lot that I really enjoyed. Go ahead and jump in. A lot of the books that I read this month were ebooks or audiobooks, so I will be popping the book on the screen for the majority of this video. The first book that I read was Burly by Jessica Cain. This is a novella, and if you guys know Jessica Cain, it's a steamy novella. She loves her steam, she loves her taboo romances. Is a father's best friend trope. It has a significant age gap as well as the zaddy kink, so if you're not into that, maybe this wouldn't be the book for you. Overall, enjoyed it. What really drew me to this particular novella is that our hero is a thick hero. Jessica Cain has come out with a few novellas where her heroine or her hero are plus size or thicker and just curvy and beautiful, and I have been really enjoying those. So her heroine is pretty young. She's like 18, 19, and our hero, it's a significant age gap, so just know that going in. But our heroine is a pop star. She sings, she dances, and her career ends up really taking off, so she moves to LA, becomes really popular. Because she becomes popular, she gets a stalker. She gets really scared, so she ends up calling her father's best friend, who was always someone that she really felt secure and safe with and has always had like an attraction to. So he comes and he's her bodyguard, and it follows their romance. Very short, very steamy. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Okay, the second book that I finished in January is like the complete opposite of a steamy novella, and that is a cozy mystery. I finished On Thin Icing by Ellie Alexander. This is, I believe, the 3rd book in the Bake Shop Mystery series, which you guys know I have been really enjoying. All of our books, it follows Jules. You definitely get to see her grow as a character. This is a series I would recommend reading in order. I highly recommend it if you are into cozy mysteries. Our main character, Jules, is going on a retreat with the Shakespeare Festival. She's going to like this snowy mountain, and she's going to be catering for them. As she is there, she discovers a dead body in the fridge. So yikes, she has to figure out what happens. It definitely is what is that called? A closed circle, a closed door mystery. Basically, they're trapped in this cabin, and there's only a certain amount of suspects that could have done it. I think it was so well done. I give this a 4 stars. It was so well done, and I did not guess who the murderer was. Ellie Alexander is just fantastic at that. Like, most of her books, I do not know who murdered the person until like she decides to tell us. So that just to me shows a good cozy mystery. Then, funnily enough, I'm actually reading the 4th book in that series, Caught Red-Handed. I literally just started it. I'm only on page 6, so I'll probably update you guys on this one in my February wrap-up. Next up, I read some Danielle Allen books in January. I filmed an author binge video all about Danielle Allen where I read 3 of her books. So if you guys want to see that more in depth, I will link that video down below. First book that I read was my first 5-star of the year, which is amazing, and it was Truth or Dare by Danielle Allen. This is a friends to lovers romance. Follows Kingston and Simone, and I loved this book. Obviously, I give it 5 stars. Follows this group of friends who have been friends since college, and they're all meeting back up in their 30s because their friends are getting married, so they're all meeting up for the wedding. A couple days before the wedding, they decide to reminisce and play Truth or Dare, and our main characters get dared to kiss each other, and there is like this instant attraction with one another that wasn't there before, and they decide to explore the attraction for each other, but it's also kind of a forbidden romance because they don't want to ruin their friendship. I really love this book. I can't even like tell you guys how much I want everyone to read this book. It was sexy, it was steamy, it was swoon worthy, it was humorous. Danielle Allen's writing style is very humorous. The heroine was super strong. It was super sex positive, body positive, and like everything I want in a book. So if you were to take any book from this video, please read this book. I also read 2 more books from her, so let me talk about that. I read Sweatpants Season. I gave this a 3 stars. I did really enjoy it. It also has a very independent heroine. Her heroine is a writer who decides to take some photography class. I can't say that word. Photography. Am I saying that right? She's a writer and she's taking some photography can't say that word. Okay, I apparently cannot say that word, but she is taking those classes to better her blog and her career, and she ends up meeting our hero. When they are being partnered in that class, she notices an attraction towards him, and it follows their romance. They end up bumping into each other a ton of different ways. I really don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to give any spoilers because it is a relatively short book. She ends up writing articles about how dating is like as a young, beautiful woman of color, and I just really enjoyed hearing her perspective. This one was a lot more serious than Truth or Dare, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. This one I read was Heartless, and this is a surprise pregnancy trope, and I gave it 5 stars. Can you believe that? Like, I gave a surprise pregnancy trope 5 freaking stars. Surprise pregnancy trope, and you guys know that is my least favorite trope ever, but I loved this book. Danielle Allen handled it so well. So this follows our main characters, Jamila and Easy. Ironically, they also meet at a wedding. Easy is a notorious player, not necessarily like a bad guy, like he doesn't intentionally hurt anyone, but he does not have a relationship for more than 2 weeks. Definitely a player, like his name suggests. He's very like easy and cool and laid back and a smooth talker, versus Jamila, who is just not impressed by all of that. They end up hooking up at the wedding and then meeting up a few years later and hooking up again. Obviously, this has a surprise pregnancy trope, so Jamila sends him a text message saying, "I'm pregnant." Follows their romance, and not just their romance, but really them trying to figure out if they're going to co-parent, if they're going to be in a relationship together. And I just think it was handled really well. Their chemistry was undeniable. Okay, so the next book is another Katie Roberts book, and it is Able. This is the first book in the Sabine Valley series. I will essentially read anything that Katie Roberts comes out with. Her books are just very sexy and very addicting. Kind of a spin-off the Wicked Villain series. The last couple books in that series kind of just build the world for this, but Sabine Valley is a very interesting world dynamic. It has like 3 factions that run the world. To me, it almost reminds me of like Gladiators, like a little barbaric. But anyways, in character, his father owned and ran one of the factions of this world, but he was a very ruthless and awful ruler, so he ended up getting overthrown. But the way he got overthrown was pretty horrific. Sons were basically brought into that battle, but they had good intentions, so they ended up getting burned. He is the eldest brother, and he felt like he was betrayed by one of his best friends, because his best friend is actually who took over that faction. And am I making sense? I think I'm over describing this. Anyway, coming back years later for revenge, he wants to take back what is rightfully his. He wants to get back at his best friend who betrayed him. It's like this gladiator style fight where he challenges 7 people, and in return he gets 7 brides for his brothers and himself. I know it sounds a little weird, but it was actually very sexy. It's a romance that has 2 guys and 1 girl. So for his brides, he ends up taking his ex-best friend and also his ex-best friend's wife. It's very steamy. I really liked it. What can I say? I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next few books I read for the historical romance readathon. That I read Night Song by Beverly Jenkins. I will leave my historical romance readathon reading vlog down below. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, which is no surprise. I have given every single book by Beverly Jenkins 5 out of 5 stars. I just adore her writing. I'm gonna read the synopsis for this one because I feel like it gives a better description of the story than I can. So it says, in 1882, Carrie Lee Henson knows no soldier can be trusted to stay in one place, and that includes handsome Sergeant Chase Jefferson from the 10th Cavalry Buffalo Soldiers, who are being honored by her Kansas town. Rumor has it that Chase is definitely not the marrying kind. Dallying with a dashing man in blue could cost the pretty, independent young woman her reputation and her job as a school teacher. So our main character is a school teacher, and it follows her romance with a soldier. There are some trigger warnings. The very first chapter in this book is very intense. It has trigger warnings for racism and loss of a loved one and lynching, and like I said, the first chapter is very intense. The book was filled with so much history and culture and a beautifully written romance. Reread Indigo by Beverly Jenkins, and this is also one of my favorite books. I've reread it 3 times, twice on audio and then 1 physical. I don't really count this towards like my reading goals because it's a reread, but this is a 5 out of 5 stars. The historicals that I read were by Laura Kinsey. Laura Kinsey has a lot of books on Kindle Unlimited, and I read the Chances Limited series. So the first book in that series is called Hammer and Tongs. It follows our hero who owns Chances Unlimited. He basically like carves out this section of London where he owns racetracks and businesses and bars. He's responsible for his family as well as employees, but he also has to make a lot of decisions for other people. So he is looking for someone to lean on in a relationship. He ends up meeting our heroine because she is dressed as a man because she is applying for a position to work at his horse racing company. The only reason she is dressed like that, she just feels more comfortable dressing more masculine. Heroine is actually the dominant one in the relationship and our hero is more submissive. I just love the way that she takes care of him. I love the way that he can lean on her, and it was just a super beautiful power dynamic. So I really like this book. I gave it a 3 stars only because I wanted more. I feel like the plot and the conflict was only briefly mentioned, but it was never fully discussed and it was never fully resolved. The next one is Trouble and Strife, and this is the second book in the series. It follows the eldest Chance brother. His name is Sydney. Oh, Sydney. I loved him. Again, another cinnamon roll hero. He is definitely the definition of a gentle giant. He is rough around the edges. He's a thicker hero, very big, very muscular. Has always been the enforcer of the family who basically handles like all the fights and all of the dirty work, but inside he is such a huge softie. This is another one where our heroine is the more dominant one and our hero is the more submissive one. They end up meeting in a candy shop. Our heroine works in a candy shop and she makes chocolates, and that's how they end up meeting. Has some amazing rep in it. Our hero is openly bisexual. He is also a submissive hero. Heroine is a curvy heroine and she also has chronic pain, which is discussed in this book. I wish it was discussed a little bit more, but it is discussed in this book. Wanted more, and maybe that's my fault because it's a novella. Like obviously you only have so many pages to write this full-length story. This book got 3 out of 5 stars, and it's the same reason for the first book. Loved our characters, just wanted more time with them, and I wanted the plot and the conflict to be more fleshed out. Okay, so the next book that I read was Daddy Crush by Adriana Anders. I say that I don't like age gap romances or the zaddy kink, but maybe I do because apparently I read a lot of those books this month. This is a steamy novella that has the daddy kink and the age gap. Our heroine is an artist who just moves to town and she ends up falling for her neighbor. Her neighbor is significantly older than her, but they have this instant attraction. She's very, very innocent. She comes from a very like small sheltered town. It almost sounds like she was a part of a cult. Like, I don't know if that's what it was or if it was just really religious. Not sure, but she's very, very innocent. So she ends up going on all of these dates to try to like find someone that she's attracted to, but she just doesn't have that spark for anybody but our hero, who is a stern, grumpy hero for sure, asks him to teach her the ways of, you know. He ends up teaching her the art of seduction, basically, and it follows the romance. It was very, very quick. There's not much of a plot to it. It's really just like a fun, steamy romance. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so those were all the books that I read in the month of January. Not a lot of books, but I probably talked about them for a very long time. Let me know if you've read any of these books or even what you read in January. I would love to know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!